Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Rabbinic Cynic. Today, I'm going all science-y, religion-y at the same time. How can we do that? Isn't that a... Don't they seem like oxymorons to you? Often we are told that science and religion are incompatible. That you're either a scientist and you believe in facts, that which you can improve, or if you're religious, they're not compatible. Somehow the Bible is not compatible with religion. It's the age-old question. And so I wanted to start with a couple of... I don't believe that's the case. I've spoken about this a couple of times. And I wanted to start with a couple of quotes from some famous scientists. And I'll start with the most famous of all Jewish scientists, Albert Einstein. Sigmund Freud's next, also Jewish. So we are meaning-seeking animals. This is a quote from Rabbi Sachs, but he's quoting Albert Einstein here. To know an answer to the question, what is the meaning of human life, means to be religious. This is Einstein saying this. Right? Think about it. To know and answer the question, what is the meaning of life, means to be religious. One of the greatest scientists of all time said this. One of our greatest psychologists, the father of psychology, said the similar thing. The idea of life having a purpose stands and falls with the religious system. Right or wrong, we find purpose in our religious beliefs. Now, you can have religious beliefs and also be religious. I think atheism itself is a religious belief. Believing in nothing is a belief. We don't know that. We have no proof that there is nothing, that there is no meaning to life. Is that what atheism is all about? That's a question you have to ask. I'm going to quote a few more here. To believe in God means to understand the question about the meaning of life. To believe in God means that the facts of the world are not the end of the matter. Well, how do we know this? That's not the end of the matter, because 300 years ago or 200 years ago, we believed one thing, and now as we've learned more in science, we believe other things. And so our understanding of science and the meaning behind it has to constantly evolve. I think this is essential. And so I said I'm going to tell two stories here, and I thought Rabbi Sachs did this amazingly, and so I'm not going to try and reinvent the wheel, as I don't believe you do need to. But what he says is, there are two stories. This is the first story that begins 13.7 billion years ago with a huge explosion of energy, which emerged for no reason whatsoever in the course of time. Stars coalesced, and we know that gravity and planets, 4.54 billion years ago, one particular planet, which is our planet, started being capable of sustaining life. Matter became animate. Cells began to reduce. Life forms began to appear. First simple, right? Little cells started forming, and then as a result, afterwards, intelligent life came into existence. For the first time, something in the universe became capable of knowing that the universe existed. Human beings, or perhaps dolphins, if you like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. But we do know that sentient life began. And that sentient life, as on this planet is human beings, we first started to ask the questions. Why are we here? And you can have two answers. You can say this is all a complex, that everything is hevel hevelim, as they say in, as we say in Ecclesiastes. This is something that we read on Simchat Torah, that we say everything is meaningless. There is no meaning behind anything. That we live, we breathe, we procreate, we do some things in life, and then we die, and that's it. It's all over. There's nothing else. There's no other meaning behind it. Right? The human body is just a collection of cells. The human self, the human consciousness, is just a self-created fiction. and human beings, we created God. We created God so that we can kind of understand meaning and purpose behind our own lives. That could be true. It could be that God is just another explanation from that. But then there's another story. And the second story is that the universe was called into being by something intelligent, something beyond ourselves. That as humans evolved, right, and the idea of Jewish understanding is that humans evolve that God works through science, that God works through nature. And so our evolution, our physical evolution is a matter of science. So as science understands how this works better, that doesn't work in contradiction with religion at all. But the other story, the story that takes the Big Bang and just takes all of the science and takes all of the reason that says everything is just a random matter and this is just a random result of billions and billions of different options happening that created sentient life. The other story is that there's a purpose behind life. And the one who we may refer to in the Abrahamic religions as God was waiting for a human being to suddenly realize that. And that could be found in many different stories, creation narratives of all of the different religions across the world. They all came to the same conclusion that at one point a person achieved enlightenment. In Buddhism, it was the Buddha. The Buddha got to this point where he achieved enlightenment. In Judaism and the Abrahamic religions, it was Abraham. That over time, Abraham began to realize that there is more to life than just us walking around endless with wandering with meaning, with no purpose, that life is meaningless. This idea of nihilism, which has often been adopted in the secular world. The only real purpose is to find happiness, make money, and that's it. We're done. When we die, nothing else. We're black. There's darkness after we die. Nothing exists afterwards. There is no purpose to humanity, even though we can try to achieve what we do in this world. And Judaism makes a different kind of distinction between that. And that is the idea that as we understand more from science, as we move forward, so too does our understanding of the purpose behind science, the purpose behind creation. As we understand, there are many people of science who believe that finding the meaning behind that is a matter of religion. Whether you want to see religion in terms of an organized religion or something which is more disorganized, or a personal belief system that allows us to see something beyond the fragility of our own lives, beyond the fact that there is meaning, that the human soul, which is capable of creating art, which is capable of creating great symphonies, it's a meaning beyond just what appears on the surface. That this is something that lives on beyond after us. The things that we create, the system that we create, lives on beyond us. And the purpose of religion, the purpose of the Abrahamic religions, the purpose of studying the Torah is to find a purpose behind what seems to be the sterility of science. But that doesn't mean science is not exciting, that science doesn't have a purpose. The purpose of science is to serve as a check and balance to religion, and the purpose of religion is to serve as a check and balance to science. And together, they are a partnership. They work in partnership together. You cannot have one without the other. You cannot just say, I want to discover the power of becoming a god, so I'm going to figure out how to create clones. We've all seen this in science fiction, that the clones are created, and they're treated kind of as slaves. The dehumanization of things that we don't see on the same level as us, that we don't seem as important as us, because we decided, well, we're at the top of we're the apex predator. We're at the top of the food chain, so it's just a matter. We should eat meat. We should kill whoever we want to kill. Turn your phone off before you do a podcast. We should do whatever we think that we want to do, because there's no meaning behind life. And that's what leads us to the rise of things like Nazism, the things like communism, right? All these isms, communism, Islamofascism, extremism of any religion comes out of this nihilistic view that there is no real purpose of our life here, that maybe what happens is in the next world. That's a problem with religion. Science changes that and says, no, there's many things that we can do to make this a better world in this world. And the purpose of this symbiotic relationship between science and religion is to bring these two stories that we can talk about in greater length, right? The story in the Bible, which is all a metaphor for how human beings discover meaning, or the story that is being told is through scientific understanding, through the rigorous scientific process of ruling out theories and of ruling out hypotheses and coming up with actual theses, coming up with proven theories. The theory of relativity is a theory that has been proven. The Einstein said E equals mc squared is proven. Nuclear explosions prove that. And that brings me on to the second topic I wanted to talk about. As we understand this reconciliation that has to occur between science and religion in the modern world, so that we can create a more symbiotic relationship and not speak in absolutes. So you have to believe in this absolutely, or you have to believe in that absolutely. But there is a middle ground. There is a gray area. And again, I talked about E equals mc squared, and I'm very disturbed by what's going on in Ukraine. The threat of the possibility of Russia using tactical nuclear weapons in response to the continuing gains that the Ukrainian military has achieved in this war, this pointless war, really. Russia's annexation of parts of eastern Ukraine, that was kind of their end game. But they're struggling to hold on to that. And to achieve that, Putin, everyone says Putin's too crazy to use a nuclear weapon. The repercussions would be too big. I don't know. You got to sometimes you have to listen to what people say and not think that they're bluffing, because some people are just fucking crazy enough to do it. I think that the State Department, United States State Department, playing this down as a real threat, may come and bite them in the tuchus. I think part of it is about not wanting to get too engaged in this conflict. There's enough issues with the economy. But I think when you hear Putin say America set the precedent when we dropped the nuclear, I'm not American. I mean, I am American, but I say we, my family was in England then. So that was, I guess we were part of the Allies, right? So at the same time, when those nuclear bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, those two bombs were, the justification was to save lives and to stop the war. So Putin say, I could use that same justification in Ukraine. I think we need to take him at his word. I think we need to be more worried than we appear to be. When you read stories in the newspaper of Ukrainian citizens around Kiev hoarding water and food and opening bomb shelters and figuring out when they're distributing iodine and potassium iodide. So in case of a nuclear attack, remember these are small yield nuclear weapons. We've got to take that seriously, and that's part of our responsibility as human beings. Is to say to our government, to our representation coming up, we got to say that this matters to us, right? We've got things to worry about here in our own country. I'm not saying that. The economy and the stock market and unemployment and poverty and the tent cities and food insecurity, and the list goes on and on and on. But we cannot isolate ourselves, because the last time we did that was in World War II. In the 1930s, America isolated themselves and allowed the Nazis to rise to power, and tens of millions of lives. That cost tens of millions of lives on both sides. So when you hear a leader you think is crazy saying that they're going to do something, I would take them at their word. And if you are in a position to influence someone who may be able to influence United States foreign policy, you need to speak up, especially now. There are people running for Congress right now who can make a difference, who can say something, who can lobby the president, who can lobby the Foreign Relations Committee to create more pressure on Russia to make them understand that if they do launch a nuclear weapon, something terrible is going to happen. We're not going to start a nuclear war. I'm not saying I mean, obviously, it is mad, mutually assured destruction. But at the same time, we have that moral responsibility. Again, how do we temper science? Science, we have the ability to do so much. We are gaining godly powers. We are slowly able to cure diseases we didn't think were curable. I am benefiting from science myself. 5 to 10 years ago, I'd be doing chemotherapy right now, which may not or may not work. Now I have a targeted therapy that's working. Science is valuable, but we have to create that balance, that moral balance that we have, that religion brings. And when you see people that don't have a moral compass, then it is up to us to stand up to them. It is up to us to stop just saying platitudes towards, let's help Ukraine. Well, you could do something about it by talking to your congressperson or your senator. You can do this by talking to, just talking about it, making it a big issue that you can't just say, we cannot just leave this aside because there's not that many things that, there's no oil there. There's no oil there. All of a sudden, America's talking about cutting Saudi Arabia, reevaluating their relationship with Saudi Arabia because of the oil, because of Saudi Arabia's relationship with Russia, right? So now we're going to reevaluate that relationship. That's because of the oil. What about human lives? What about human lives? That's the question I'm going to leave you today. This is the week of Simchat Torah. We're supposed to be happy. We're supposed to celebrate, but it's still also a continuation of the high holidays where we have to understand our place in the world. And the first way we can do that is to understand how our faith and our beliefs work with science, work with the world of facts, the world of things that are proven. The proven idea that when you explode a nuclear bomb, you make areas of the planet uninhabitable. It could lead to the destruction of our entire planet. That's science, untempered science. Science that is being used by people that don't have that moral compass. Someone like Putin, who doesn't have that moral compass. And so I want to continue this conversation about reconciling science and religion and how we can blame religion too, as well, for many of the world's ills. And that's not what I'm talking about. Well, Albert Einstein said finding purpose is a religious act. He wasn't talking about organized religion. He's defining the word religion to mean finding purpose. Not organized religion, but religion in terms of finding purpose. And so with that, I will leave you. I am going away, so I will not be live streaming until Monday. So I wish everybody a happy weekend. Live long and prosper, and everybody, we got to do something about this. And have a great day. I know I didn't necessarily end on a high note, but the high note is that we as sentient beings have that purpose. We can have that purpose to make this a better world, to change things for the good and not for the evil, to look at the arc of history and see that we can allow goodness to prevail. Have a great day. Bye.